Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. You should be, the Hangouts part is on air, and there should be some. Hang on one sec. Testing 1, 2, 3. You don't hear sound? Testing 1, 2, 3. Do you hear? Okay. The YouTube and the Hangouts addresses are up. Let us look back at the scripture. And let's look at Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. Revelation 13. And I'm going to read a passage that's very familiar to us, but may not be familiar to the people who are listening. It's very familiar to us. Revelation chapter 13. Let's see. I'm going to begin at verse 4. And I'm going to read down to verse 8 of Revelation chapter 13. And the prophecy says, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him, speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Yahweh, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. The Bible shows us that the earth is worshiping the dragon. And then, of course, in Revelation chapter 12, Revelation 12, verse 9 and 10, actually from verse 7 to 10 tells us who the dragon is. And there was war in heaven. Michael fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our Adonai, and the power of his Messiah. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, for our Adonai, day and night. Now, brothers and sisters, we see here that the dragon is the devil. He deceives the earth, and the earth worships him. Done on many levels, many levels. We're going to examine one of them today and how it affects the 144,000 as they prepare to do the final work on the planet Earth in our time. Let us go back and look at 2 Kings chapter 11. Not 2 Kings chapter 11. 1 Kings chapter 11. I'm sorry. 1 Kings chapter 11. Let's look at 1 Kings chapter 11. And I'm going to read 1 Kings chapter 11 from verse 1 down to verse 7. Actually, from verse 1 down to verse 9. Okay. King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites. Of the nations concerning which Yahweh said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. And his wives turned away his heart. And it came to pass, oh, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with Yahweh his Elohim, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and went not fully after Yahweh as did David his father. Then did Solomon build a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. Likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrifice unto their gods. And Yahweh was angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned from Yahweh Elohim of Yasharal, which had appeared unto him twice. Okay, so we see here, Solomon, it was, and there's a big mistake that people make here. Solomon's problem wasn't the 700 wives in terms of the number of wives he had, nor the 300 concubines in terms of the number of concubines he had. The issue was that they were strange women, which means women from countries that worshiped other gods. That was the issue, okay? The issue wasn't the polygamy. It wasn't that. It was the worship of the strange gods that came with these women that came worshiping these strange gods. And before we get started, I just want to tell people, though polygamy is not popular in our modern society, it was a common thing in the days of Solomon, because kings were able to support financially and provide for in a very high level. And so lots of women wanted to be their wives and concubines because they would get provided for. This is not even back in Solomon's day. You go all the way up into the kings of England, and in the kings of England, the kings and the people in the court of the king, if you go and look at any history of the kings of England, even all the way into like the 1800s, you'll see they had concubines. They had one wife, because they were supposed to be Christian, but they had concubines. And in his court, his dukes and his people had concubines as well. And they would set up estates for their concubines as well as for their wife. So the wife would be first, and her child would be the next king or queen. But the king and his dukes and his princes, they would have concubines, and they would have estates set up for them, because the women wanted to get pregnant by these men because these men could financially support them. It has not changed. Even Prince Charles in England today, that woman, Bowles, that he's married to, was once his concubine. Okay, Prince Charles in England right now, he was married to Diana. That was supposed to be the queen, but he always had this side woman that was his concubine, and he set up an estate for her. Later on, once Diana was dead and they let a lot of years go by, he married Bowles, but really, that was his concubine. And still in the sports world today, all of this money playing baseball and football and basketball and hockey, they have wives and they all have concubines. Truth be told, you ask them, I was around some professional NBA players. They got concubines, right? And they're able to set up their concubines with houses and cars and child support and everything they need, because these guys are making millions a year, dollars a year. So if they're making 10 million, I think the average NBA player now makes $7 to $10 million a year, or something like that. So if you're making $7 to $10 million a year, you're able to well provide for and your concubine. I'm not saying it's right or whatever, but it's true. It's what happens. And it's not new. It's old. It goes back a long way. And the Most High allowed the kings of Israel to have concubines. He allowed David and Solomon have them. But the problem that he had with what Solomon was doing was that he explained to Solomon, he had told the children of Israel not to marry women who were from countries that worshiped other gods. And this is the thing, brothers and sisters. I wasn't trying to bring up the polygyny as the subject today, and I'm not going to do it. But it was the strange wives that were the problem, because brothers and sisters, in the days of Yasharal, in the days of Solomon, the nations did not have religions the way we have it now. And we're going to talk about that. They had gods that they served. Gods that they served were known by the names of the gods. Okay? For example, we just read in 1 Kings chapter 11. Ashtoreth was a goddess of the Zidonians. Okay? Ishtar was another one. Ishtar was a goddess from Egypt. Milcom was a god of the Ammonites. You had also Chemosh was a god of the Moabites. Molech was another god of Ammon. Dagon was the god of the Philistines. They all had their different gods. Many of them had multiple gods. So you had, for example, we just mentioned here, Molech was a god in Ammon, but also you had, Ammon had, which one? Ammon had another god aside Moabit. Let me see, wait a minute. Milcom and Molech were both gods of Ammon, see? And so you had, in ancient Egypt, you had Ra, the sun god, right? Ishtar, the goddess of fertility. They had many gods, okay? So, were named. Now, for the Israelite, for the Yasharal, the nation of Israel, their God, or Yah, that was their God. The name of their God was Yah. And they would say that, you see that in the scriptures very often. The name of our God, Yah, by his name, we call him by his name, Yah. See, what happened in the King James Bible is they replaced Yah with Lord. Every place you see Yahweh or Yah, they put Lord, okay? But the point is that the Israelites were not to marry people who worship these gods. And the Bible said that the reason, he said he didn't want them doing that, because he said surely they would turn away your heart after their gods. Because you cannot worship two gods. Either you're going to have one or the other. And the Most High didn't have, there wasn't multiple gods. There was Yah. Okay? So, the devil, understanding that situation, he created an abomination, a god that would bring all of these gods together in one religion. Okay? He created a god. See, if you notice today, right, they tell you there's three major religions today. Now, there's a lot of religions. There's hundreds and hundreds of religions on the earth. But they talk about three major religions because the majority of the populace of planet Earth, the majority of the 7+ billion on planet Earth, the majority of them are one of these three major religions, quote unquote. That is Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. Okay, so they three major religions, and I want you to, let's look. We studied this a few months ago. Daniel chapter 11. Daniel chapter 11. I want to show you Daniel 11, and we're talking about the Roman Pope as the king of the north in Daniel chapter 11. And he's going to, and Daniel's prophecy is going to describe him, what he's going to do. And this man, of course, started with Constantine and then developed into the Roman Catholic Church. Let's take a look at this. Daniel chapter 11 from verse 36 down to verse 39. 36 to 39. And the king, he's talking about the Pope. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god. and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces. A God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. We talked about this months ago. This God is the institution of the Christian church, starting with Catholicism. This is the God that they honor with gold and silver and precious things. This is the institution that is honored above all gods. And all the Christian churches of the earth do the same thing as the Catholic Church. They honor their church above all things. And notice what happens now. In the modern age, with the three so-called major religions, what they do is they'll tell you and they'll tell me that all of these religions worship the same God. Don't they say that? Islam and Christianity and Judaism, we all worshiping the same God. We're just worshiping him in different ways. Isn't that what they tell you? That's called ecumenism. They're bringing all religions into one. So that the Catholic Church, it brought the sun god, the Dagon, Milcom, Ashtoreth, it brought the Easter, Ishtar, it brought Tammuz, it brought all of those gods into one church. It tells you that all of these other religions are still worshiping the same God because he got all of them covered. And that's why today people use the term God, because that covers everybody's worship, right? That covers everybody's deity. But no. Brothers and sisters, the Most High said there's such a thing as the true Most High, the true Elohim, and there are false gods. Because he said, don't marry people that worship false gods. Don't worship other gods beside me. So there's other gods apparently that people worship. If they were not, then he wouldn't say don't worship other gods. Does that make sense, brothers and sisters? And people are bamboozled into thinking that because every religion calls their deity God, that it must be the same one. This is a lie. And this is why it's a lie. The Most High told Adam and his sons, Cain and Abel, I want you to bring me an offering from the firstlings of the flock. This is how you're going to worship me. You're going to bring me an offering and you're going to kill an animal, the firstling, the firstborn of an animal. And that's you're going to kill for worshiping me. Abel brought it. Cain brought fruit. Cain was rejected. Abel was accepted. Cain was rejected because he brought something it wasn't commanded him to bring. And in being rejected, the Most High is declaring, you're not worshiping me. That's rejected. That's why he says in his word, and let's go back again to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Let's go back once again to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Deuteronomy 4 from verse 1 down to verse 3. Notice what it says. Now therefore hearken, O Yasharal, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you for to do them, that ye may live and go in and possess the land which Yahweh Elohim of your fathers giveth you. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you. Your eyes have seen what Yahweh did because of Baal Peor. There's another God. For all the men that follow Baal Peor, Yahweh thy Elohim hath destroyed them from among you. Didn't want them worshiping other gods because there were other things that were being worshipped. And let me tell you something. in the day and age in which we live. It is the most idolatrous generation in the history of planet Earth. The generation in which we live is the most idolatrous generation in the history of planet Earth. The 144,000 are being developed and raised in the most idolatrous generation in the history of planet Earth. And this is how the devil is deceiving the earth. He's got everybody thinking we're all serving the same God. It's just served in different ways. And the truth is, they're serving the devil. That's why the Bible says, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshiped the beast. That's why it says that, because it says all the world worship the beast and the dragon. Because he says to you, you can worship me in different ways. You're all worshiping me. You can worship me in different ways, but not so with the one true creator. The creator of heaven and earth, the sea and all that in them is. He has a name, Yah. That is his name. He has a covenant, one covenant, which he makes with his people. There's no wooden crosses. There's no big blocks of granite in Saudi Arabia. Big stone for you to bow down to. There's no building for you to give honor to, calling it the house of the Lord. There's no temple for you to worship, because he dwells not in temples made with hands. There's his covenant. There's the Son, Yahushua, the Savior, through whom you get to your Father, Yah. Means Yah exists. Yahushua means Yah exists to save. And today, we have been conditioned to worship all manner of gods. Let's list some of them. Starting with the religions. The religions are man-made. Christianity came from Constantine. It gives glory and honor to church fathers and pioneers of the church. It created an institution called the Catholic Church. They say Catholic because it's universal. It's man-made. It gives glory and honor to man, and they have a man at the head of it, the Pope. All the other institutions follow suit. Let's now look to Islam. Islam, they say we worship one God, Allah. Well, the one God, Allah, has one prophet, apparently, because they focus on Muhammad, which thing the Bible never speaks of. They focus on this man, Muhammad, as their prophet. And they will kill somebody that speaks against Muhammad, never mind Allah. Okay? Idolatrous. Tells us to worship a man that is a prophet, Muhammad. And Muhammad didn't pay the penalty for anybody's sin. He didn't raise up from the dead. He's not the high priest after the order of Melchizedek in the sanctuary made without hands. He has no eternal life to give you. Idolatrous. And Judaism, a man-made religion based in Talmud and money and earthly power and overthrow. Judaism. That's what that is. A man-made religion started 800 years ago in Khazaria. Man-made. Idolatrous. They worship money. They worship money. And they worship man's knowledge. They even say, I've taken courses in it. They say they believe in the goodness of man. They'll tell you that. We believe in the basic goodness of man. Oh, it sounds nice, doesn't it? So did the devil at the tree with Eve. And now you go from Catholicism, which was the first Christian church, to all of these institutions that of which they're offshoots. And I mean offshoots, they're images of Rome. You're talking about the Seventh-day Adventist church, the Pentecostal church, the Baptist church, the Mormon so-called Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Lutherans, the Episcopalians. All of them are whores of the great Madam of Rome. All of them are Babylonian whores of the great Madam of Rome. Idolatrous. Every last one of them. Which is why his 144,000 are called out of these churches. Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues. You see, when you're in these churches and following their dogmas, you're partaking in their idolatrous sins. The 144,000 are not so, for they are not defiled with women. They follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. They are virgins, pure, over to Yah and to his covenant, receiving of his perfection of righteousness and being sealed in his character. Not members of these false denominations and churches. Let's continue. And it goes down. You ever hear somebody say growing up, oh, somebody, let's see, there's a great singer, right? And the person's a great singer, like Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross, a great singer, great singer. The man had a voice like an angel's instrument, man. It was beautiful. Who were your people you looked up to? He said, oh, I idolized Aretha Franklin, and I idolized Stevie Wonder, and they were my idols. Or you talk about LeBron James as a basketball player. You talk LeBron. When you were young, who did you idolize? I idolized Michael Jordan. I idolized Allen Iverson. I idolized these men when I was growing up. Or you see a great actress or actor, and they receive an Oscar, and they ask them, who did you look up to? Sidney Poitier. Oh, I would idolize Jimmy Stewart or Marilyn Monroe. I would idolize them. Or you ask a musician, a guitar player or a drum player. When you were growing up, I idolized Jimi Hendrix. He was the greatest guitar player in the world. I idolized him. I idolized the Beatles. I idolized Aerosmith. I idolized the Jacksons and Michael Jackson. And it becomes even like they make it now. When you say stuff like that, it's like now they'll say, oh, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful. Not realizing what they're saying. They're creating gods out of people. Not realizing what they're saying. And people say it across all lines. Politics, religion, sports, business. I idolized Sam Walton, who started Walmart, even though his money was funded by drug money in Mena, Arkansas, even though his company was funded by drug money in Mena, Arkansas. I idolized Sam Walton. What a great businessman. I idolized Warren Buffett. What a tremendous stock-picking genius he is. Or I idolized Steve Jobs. Right? And all of these people, books are written about them, and people study them, and people want to be like them. It's idol worship, man. It's common. It's so common and pervasive in today's society that it's normal, and it even is looked up to. And yet, when you call it, people say, oh, we're not really worshiping them. Oh, our church doesn't really do that. SDA Church worships Ellen White. That's their goddess. I don't care what you tell me. SDA Church made Ellen White their goddess. The Mormon Church made Joseph Smith their God. The Jehovah's Witnesses made Charles Taze Russell their God. The Catholic Church has the Pope as their God. The Islam has Muhammad. They worship him. And they say Allah, whoever that is. Apparently a God that can be forgiven sin through righteousness by works. And then today in the Christian world, somebody say, what church do you go to? I go to the Baptist church. Well, you should come to mine. I want to invite you to the SDA church. I want to invite you to the Jehovah's Witness temple. I want to invite you to mine. They're all into their churches, into their denominations, into their religions. The Israelite has no place to invite you. You see, you've gotten brainwashed to the point where you think church is a place to go. Church means assembly. It's an assembly of people. And in fact, in its original form, when it was given to us, it's a nation, the nation of Israel. The covenant given to the nation of Israel, the Bible says. That's his church. That's his assembly. His called out assembly. The nation, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. I have chosen you above all people of the earth. That is the nation of Israel. And if you're going to be saved, you're going to be grafted into that nation. If you're going to be saved, you're going to be grafted into that nation through the Messiah of Israel, the tribe of Judah, Yahushua of Nazareth, who you call Jesus Christ. He's not a white man from Europe. Neither did he start a new religion called Christianity. With Moses' teachings, because he taught Moses and he expanded on what he taught Moses. No, you're going to come in, if you're going to be saved, you're going to be grafted into the nation of Israel through him, Mashiach Yahushua. Or you're not going to make it. Not in these last days. You say, what about all the thousands of Christians that live before us? That's between them and the Most High. The Bible does say in Thyatira, I will lay upon you because you don't know the depths of Satan, no other burden. So there's some people like Martin Luther, William Tyndale, John Huss. They're going to probably be saved because they were faithful in the darkness in which they lived, you understand? They tried their best in the darkness in which they lived. What we talking about now. See, don't look at Martin Luther, because what saved Martin Luther going to cause you to be lost. What saved Ellen White going to cause you to be lost, because we're in a different age now. He's expecting you to come higher. We're in the last days, man. This is the Super Bowl, the World Series, the championship. This is it right here. This is game 7, brothers and sisters. This is the Stanley Cup. This is game 7 right here. And there's a few minutes left. And it's going to be decided. And ain't no room for no feigned ignorance. And he's commanding his people, who he's calling out of Babylon, out of all of these so-called Christian churches, these religions of the 3 so-called major religions. He's calling people out and calling them to himself. Yah, to keep his covenant alone, in Messiah alone. And not everybody will heed it. We talked about this a few minutes ago. 99% of the people, 99.9% of the people going to reject it. Only a very small remnant in this age. Such idolatry we have. As in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. Because in the days of Noah, the earth was filled with violence. And people did every evil imagination they can think of. And only Noah and 7 got on board the ark. Noah with his 7. Noah represents the 144,000. 7, the perfect number, represents the remnant that's going to be saved. Noah with his 7 got on board the ark. That's where we at right now. Ain't going to be, see, brothers and sisters, people are used to, we got brainwashed into thinking that there's strength in our numbers. Stadium full of people, waving their hands and saying they believe in Jesus because Billy Graham told them to, that all the earth is going to be converted. This is a lie. Because the Bible talks about a very small remnant that keep his commandments and have the faith of Yahushua, the faith of Jesus Christ, the testimony of Jesus, the spirit of prophecy. And no, it's not Ellen White. It is perfect righteousness, the spirit of perfect righteousness. It is the justifying, the cleared of all guilt through the blood of Messiah, and receiving by faith of perfect holiness and righteousness, which leads to a life of holiness and righteousness. Those people are his people, found in these idolatrous practices. They would be redeemed from them. Well, did say that the dragon deceived the whole world. So all of us who are redeemed were at one time deceived. All of us. All of us have been redeemed from sin. And part of our sin is that we were deceived. Was not Eve deceived? And was not Eve redeemed? She was redeemed through the blood of the soon coming seed that would crush the serpent's head. She was deceived. Like her, all of us have been deceived, but the remnant will have been redeemed. And through the spirit of righteousness made new, through the operation of the Most High Yah. His workmanship would redeem us through Messiah Yahushua, and would cause us to be back into the mind frame of perfect righteousness like Eve was before she was. Okay? And you say, well, how can 144,000 be virgins if they were once deceived? That's called redemption. That's called a new creature. Huh? And that's what the Bible says when it says, and let's turn to it. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. 2 Corinthians chapter 5. And you know the verse, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, from verse, going to read from verse 18 down to verse 17. Actually, from verse 14, I'm going to read down to verse 21. This is too important and too powerful to shorten, okay? Take my time, read these 8 verses here. Check this out. For the love of Messiah constraineth us, because we thus judge that if one died for all, then we're all dead. And that he died for all, that they which live should not henceforth live unto themselves, but unto him which died for them and rose again. Wherefore, henceforth know we no man after the flesh, yea, though we have known Messiah after the flesh, yet now henceforth know we him no more. Therefore, if any man be in Messiah, he is a new creature. All things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. And all things are of Yahweh, who has reconciled us to himself by Yahushua, Mashiach, and hath given to us the ministry of reconciliation. To wit, that Yah was in Messiah, reconciling the world unto himself, not imputing unto them, and hath committed unto us the word of reconciliation. We are ambassadors for Messiah, as though Yah did beseech you by us. We pray you in Messiah's stead, be ye reconciled to Yah. Him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of Yah in him. See, this is the problem with Christianity. Up there where we started at verse 14. It says in verse 15, that he died for all, that they which live should not live henceforth unto themselves, but unto him which died for them and rose again. In this idolatrous age in which we live, People live for themselves, even calling themselves Christians and living for their honor and their glory. And what they do after they snap all these tattoos all over themselves and do what they feel like doing, then they claiming, I'm living for the Lord. This is my life for the Lord. He's rejecting that like he rejected Cain. He's rejecting it because it's not what he commanded. It's a departure from his commandments, statutes, and judgments, and it's not what he called for. And they are deceived. Truth be told, when you come to Messiah and you become his disciple, you're not living for yourself. You're living for him. Your life is not yours. You don't decide where you go, what you do. He decides, and you actually ask him, Messiah, what would you have me do, Master? What is your will? Where would you have me live? Where would you have me work? Where would you have me go? Because I go where you have me go. And that, brothers and sisters, is the hallmark of the 144,000. They follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. Is the glory of the Father, which is found in Messiah. We don't live for ourselves. We don't live for our fears, our desires, our wants. We live for him. And if it means death, so be it, because our lives are now his. We are new creatures. The old man is already dead. And if he wants the new one to be put to rest, so be it. You understand? So we live in the most idolatrous age of the history of planet Earth, and it's only going to get worse from here. And people will only exalt themselves higher from here. And man will only exalt his institutions higher from here, which leads us to Revelation chapter 13, and we'll finish here. Revelation chapter 13. You see, we talked about this very often. Revelation 13 is a example, well, not an example, it's the actuality from which Daniel chapter 3 is the example. You say Daniel chapter 3. Yes, Daniel chapter 3 is where Nebuchadnezzar created a golden image and had everybody bow to it. And the three Hebrew young men did not bow to the golden image because that's idolatrous. Because the number one gave us is have no other gods before me. Don't bow down to anything. Don't make any images of anything. And that's what he told them. But in Christianity, every Christian church is a god. Every Christian institution, the Catholic Church is a god. The Jehovah's Witness is a god. All of them are gods. And they worship their denomination, claiming it's truth. And they use the Bible loosely or change it completely. Okay? And so today we are going to be faced with an image to the beast. See, people you're concerned with the mark of the beast, and they very well should be. But really, they're ignoring the thing that leads to the mark of the beast. That's the image to the beast. The beast is the Roman Catholic institution from which you get Christianity. Christianity was founded by the Roman Catholics, by Constantine. Messiah never came, and nowhere in the Bible does it say, I came to start a new religion called Christianity. Didn't say that. So now you got this beast, which is the Christian institution started by the Rome, led by this Pope, who's led by the devil. Because the Bible says the dragon gave him his power, seat, and great authority. The dragon. And now in Revelation 13, you have this image. 13, beginning at verse 11 and going down to verse 15. Revelation 13, from verse 11 to verse 15. Notice what it says. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image should both speak. Many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Let's stop right here. So you have this second beast. The first beast was the Roman Catholic Church. This second beast is another government that rises, that has the look of a lamb, the look Christ. In fact, it is a Christian nation. Stop. This next thing that rises up is a Christian nation, but it's really controlled by the dragon, because Christianity is a man-made religion. And it's in the image of the first beast, the Roman Catholic Church. And this government institution to rise, the Christian church in America. You see what you have now? You have the far right, the conservative movement, the conservatives, and they're Christians. Huh? The Christian conservatives. They're all in Senate, Congress, White House, Supreme Court. Christian conservatives. And they had Obama backpedaling. Okay, they had old Obama backpedaling. Are you a Muslim? Are you a Muslim? And he had to go all to great lengths to show, no, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. Here's my church. My church is in Chicago. I'm a Christian. And this in a land that says they don't have any religion above any other religion. But you remember that in 2008, they had that boy swearing up and down he was a Christian. I'm not a Muslim, I'm a Christian. Now, because this is a Christian nation. This is a Christian nation. That's why it looks like a lamb, but it really is a dragon. Huh? And they created this image to the beast. Well, we got to think about that. Rome dominated the earth in a political, economic, and of course religious fashion for over 1,000 years, until such time as France rose up under Napoleon Bonaparte, and he had a brother, and they rose up under them, and now you had political and economic powers that were based in Rome, although it was the Roman Jesuits that did it. And so the Pope of Rome was granted that the Catholic cathedral there, what is it called? The Vatican should be its own nation within Italy in 1929. 1929, Mussolini basically ceded the Vatican separate country. The Vatican is its own country within the nation of Italy in Rome. And so now with that country, the Vatican, you have one church. It is the Catholic Church. It is led by one man, and they have one government. It's the only country in the world like that. And state being led by the same man. In the United States of America, we're now moving in a direction very quickly where you're having religion, especially Sunday keeping religion, but it's not just Sunday keeping religion. And this is where we're going to blow your mind, because you got the SDA church talking about, it's going to be a national Sunday law and everybody got to worship on Sunday. So all these Sunday churches are the mark of the beast. SDA church is right in there with them. All the 7-day churches. If you are an institution, Christian institution, you're in the image of Rome, baby. Because that's Rome's thing, man. Christianity came from Rome. So all you got to do is say you Christian and you down. They don't care if you do your mass on Saturday, because you know what? Rome has mass on Saturday. There's many Roman Catholics that go to mass on Saturday. They don't care about that. And that basically is what these Seventh-day churches are doing, holding mass on Saturday. That's all they're doing. Because if you call yourself Christian, you're following Rome, because you're in their umbrella and their institution. And what's going on? It said they have power to give life. What does that mean? Brothers and sisters, let me tell you. Let me tell you. When a church, see, in Rome, the Vatican has political as well as religious authority, right? They have political as well as religious authority, which means as politicians, they also have authority over whatever military they have, which they have Swiss guards that guard them, but that's their power. So here in the United States, we are creating a situation where the church will be involved with the government, and it's already involved with the government, because all of these leaders, T.D. Fakes and Creflo Dollar Bill and Joyce Myers and all these Osteen, all these fake false prophets of Christianity, they're pagan prophets, all of them, and then all the ones you don't know that had all of these denominations, get their marching orders from the government, and the government gets its marching orders from the Vatican. Yeah, that's how this game works, man. So I don't care what church you in. That's going to be the problem. You see, brothers and sisters, the problem is going to be if you are of a religious persuasion, you are worshiping something, you are praying to something, and you are not in any of these churches, you are going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem. That's the image to the beast. That's the false prophet of Revelation 16. It is the Christian church that is an offshoot of Rome. That's what it is. And this image will be given power because the government will have power with the church. And as part of a patriotic movement, that's what we're going to see. That's what we're seeing. A movement of patriotism is going to be coming. And it's going to be a movement that you saw glimpses of it after 9/11. There was a huge patriotic movement. So that if you spoke against the United States of America, you were, classified as unpatriotic and treasonous even. But you see, the 144,000 are obedient to the laws of the lands in which they live, whether they be the United States of America, Canada, or whatever land the 144,000 find themselves in, of the many countries of Africa or of India or Asia, wherever you find them, and 144,000 scattered throughout the earth. It's the law of that land as long as those laws don't break the covenant. Okay? When those laws try to cause you to worship another god, an image, you are separate ways. And what happened with the Hebrew young men when they were told to bow to this image is the same thing going to happen here. They're going to tell you, you need to join a church, any church. I don't care if it's Catholic or Episcopal or Mormon or SDA, join one of them. And matter of fact, there was a Pope named Ratzinger who in 1995 or 96 was quoted in U.S. News and World Report as saying, if you want to keep the commandments, then join the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We have no problem with that. Join. Why would the Pope of Rome, the man at that time was a cardinal, but later he would become the Pope of Rome, why would he state openly, go and join this other church? Because they control all churches. And if you're in Christianity, you're down with them, period. You're down with them. That's why he can boldly say, join whichever one you want. One time, a man and his wife had asked me about health because they noticed that I ate a certain way and that I was healthy and I lived a certain way. And they asked me about it, and I told them. Talk about Bible health and what the Bible says about what we should eat and not eat. And of course, them being Christians didn't know what the Bible said with regard to these things, because Christians believe they can eat anything. But they believed different because the husband was very sick and he wanted to get well, and he believed the things the Bible said would help him back to health. So after a while, him and his wife changed their diets and they changed their lifestyles according to the biblical principles. And they asked me, they said, Todd, would you come and speak these things that you taught us to our church? Came to our pastor. And they did. Okay. So I said, okay, I'd be glad to do that. And then I ended up calling the pastor, and he said to me, I said to him, I'm not a member of any church. I am not a member of a church. He said, we can't have you come into our church. I said, because I'm not a Baptist? He said, no. He said, I don't care what church you join. Join any one of them. And when you join one, we'll let you in. That's what he told me. Okay? And it's because it's like a union, brothers and sisters. And that's what you have, a union of Christianity. They're unionizing, and that's what the image of the beast will be. They want you to be a member of one of these churches. They don't care which one, just one of them. Churches. Or you can be a member of a synagogue, because that's one of the three major religions. They don't care, because Rome controls that too. Or you can be a member of a mosque. They don't care which one, as long as it's a mosque, because Rome controls that too. If you're not with one of the three major religions, you're going to be labeled treasonous, untrustworthy, dangerous, maybe even a terrorist, a heretic. Exactly. Because the Bible teaches us that the nation of Israel is his church, and they are scattered throughout the earth until the time when he brings them back together. And that's at the second coming of Messiah. They're scattered throughout all the earth, giving the flavor of righteousness that they receive from his word through his spirit alone, which thing you will not find in any of these Christian denominations. Okay? They're scattered people. And that's what the loud cry is all about. He's calling his scattered people out from these pagan institutions. Come out of her, my people. Somebody said, well, are the pagans going to wake up at that time? No, he's calling his people, which are among the pagans. He said, come out of her, my people. He said, and then we also read it today in Deuteronomy chapter 30. Notice Deuteronomy chapter 30. Deuteronomy 30. Notice what it says. Deuteronomy chapter 30. I'm going to read from verse 1, down to verse 4. Watch very carefully, because this is the loud cry. Deuteronomy 30. You say, well, what about Revelation 18? It's also Deuteronomy 30. You're also going to see it in Ezekiel 36, 37. You're also going to see it in Jeremiah chapter 30. You're also going to see it in Isaiah chapter 60, and Isaiah chapter 10 and 11. You're going to see it in a lot of places, because all the prophets speak of it. Notice Deuteronomy 30 on the verse 4. And it shall come to pass. He's talking to his people Israel. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither Yahweh thy Elohim have driven thee. And thou shalt return unto Yahweh thy Elohim, and shalt obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy Elohim will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, turn and gather thee from all the nations being pagan, Gentile, whither Yahweh thy Elohim have scattered thee. If any of thine, that is Israelites, be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy Elohim gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. See, he's gathering them from places all over the earth, because they're scattered throughout the earth. His people, his chosen, are scattered. And the loud cry of Revelation 18 is to call them out of all of these institutions from which they've been in bondage and deception. Let's look again. Jeremiah. Let's see, Jeremiah chapter 23. Watch this, Jeremiah 23. This is, again, he's calling them out from all of these places, from these false pastors that led them crooked ways and caused them to worship idolatrous religions. Look at Jeremiah chapter 23, please. We're going to read Jeremiah 23 from verse 1. Watch carefully down to verse 8. Watch carefully, Jeremiah 23 from verse 1 to verse 8. Notice what it says. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith Yahweh. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Elohim of Israel, against the pastors that feed my people, ye have scattered my flock and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doings, saith Yahweh. I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful. And I will set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, saith Yahweh. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days, Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is his name, whereby he shall be called Yahweh, our righteousness, Yahweh, our Sadak. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all the countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. There you go. Come out of her, my people. See, they got the minds of these people so messed up that when you think about leaving a church, they say, well, where are we going to go to worship? Who are we going to worship with? That's what people think. That's what most of us thought when we left our churches, right? Where are we going to worship? And who are we going to worship with? And you know, the pagans try to use your Bible against you the way the devil did. You know, you shouldn't forsake the assembling of yourselves together. 2 people this week tried to use that verse on me. 2 people. And I said to them, are you trying to tell me your pagan institution and my brethren that I should be assembling with? I'm afraid not. I'm not an SDA. I'm not a Baptist, a Pentecostal, or Mormon. I'm not even a Christian. So I don't belong assembling with pagans. Okay? But they got the people thinking, where am I going to worship and who am I going to worship with? Because they got your mind so wrapped up. They got you so brainwashed that you're thinking church is a place you got to go, and a whole bunch of people sitting in pews and your brethren, and you got to worship with them, and sitting down in them pews and listening to a pagan man speak to you. Well, that's worship. That's called church. And having them crosses on it, that's church, man. Okay? But no, 144,000 are not going to remain in those pagan institutions. And no, these idolatrous practices. And they don't worry about where they're going to worship and who they're going to worship with. Because the object, brothers and sisters, remember, we don't live to ourselves. We live for him that saved us. So it doesn't matter if I kneel down in my bedroom, in my apartment, on the side of a river, a lake, on a beach, in a mountain, anywhere. If I'm there with him, I'm worshiping him. You understand? Doesn't matter. There's no church is not a place to go. It's a thing to be. You part of the assembly, the scattered nation of Israel, grafted into the truth through the righteousness of the Most High Yah. Yes, brothers and sisters. No. 144,000 will not be part of these idolatrous practices. They might be for a while, but it won't hold them long, because they're seeking the truth of the Most High Yah, and he's leading them by his spirit given through his son, Messiah. He's looking to cleanse them from all defilement of sin and to cover them in the perfect gold and spirit of his righteousness, the oil of holiness that comes from him. Okay? And away from all the brainwashing that is taking place. Mass brainwashing on a worldwide scale is taking place, and people are being brainwashed and herded like cattle. That's what's going on. Brainwashed and herded like cattle, brothers and sisters. False shepherds are bringing them into these false institutions. And right now, these people these pastors and these lay people in these false Christian institutions, they're going to be desperately trying to stop their people from hearing the message that I spoke today. because I'm not the only one. There's at least 143,999 others that are going to speak the same message, and they're going to desperately try to stop them from hearing that. But the remnant will hear it. And they will come forth out of those churches. And they're going to be a small number, but they'll make up the last day people that are going to be redeemed from the earth. Let's have a word of prayer.